Hello, thank you to everyone who's joined us. This is an unbelievable year to be in. This is not normal. In the evening of Wednesday, April the 8th, 2 weeks' time, in exactly 2 weeks' time, we'll have already stopped eating chametz, we'll be setting the table for the Seder, and different people are in very different positions. Incredibly sadly, some people will be alone, many for the first time in their lives. Others, grandparents will be alone. Some families will be making Seder in their own home for the first time, maybe in a long time or for the first time in forever. Almost everybody I've spoken to is going to have a very different Seder to the one they had planned and were really expecting even until a couple of weeks ago. So welcome to everyone. And what I wanted to do today is give something for everyone. Everyone's in a different position to what they'd expect to be in. For some watching this, it means finding something to engage their very young kids. For some, it will be engaging teenagers. For some, they'll find themselves in a much more mature Seder than they'd ever expect to find themselves in. And you'll want to find something meaningful, something different, something that you can do that maybe you haven't been able to do before with with a young family or with young people that are at the Seder. So everyone's at different levels, everyone's at different points in their lives and having a different Seder maybe than they've ever had before. Some people will be exactly the same as ever before. But wherever everyone is, I just want to welcome everyone and thank you again for joining us. And whatever Seder you're going to have, I'd really like to help each person help you find something really meaningful for you. So I'm planning to give 30 minutes worth of creative tips and tricks to transform Seder night for everyone with practical and effective Seder hacks. This is welcome to Pesach in quarantine. So the first thing we're going to establish is just what are we actually trying to achieve on Seder night? What's the whole point? Like, what's the context here? So the answer is telling the story of when the Jewish people were miraculously taken out of Egypt by God. That's the mitzvah. It's a story. So everything I say, everything we're going to do here is to try and help us fulfill that mitzvah in an enjoyable and fun and engaging way. So like any story, it doesn't matter on the age of the listeners, whether it's a kid's bedtime story, whether it's a Broadway musical, every story, the more engaging, the better. So more details, more sound effects, more songs to help move the plot along or bring out an emotion, more audience participation. That's what we're going for. So it's to tell the story of going out of Egypt. So as a final point, the core purpose of everything I'm going to say is going to be from this point on, right? If I'd stop talking now, you'd want your money back. This was all just an introduction, an important introduction, but it's an introduction, right? The same is true with the Haggadah. The structure of the Maggid section of the Haggadah tells us the format of the mitzvah to tell the story of the Exodus, right? Manishtana is a Q&A format, right? That's how we do the mitzvah. The next is a story of people who did the mitzvah. They did it all night. Fantastic. That's how we do the mitzvah of telling over the story. We have a story about people telling a story. Then the importance of educational differentiation in the Haggadah, right? We have the 4 sons. That's okay. When you're telling over the story, make sure you tell it in lots of different ways. Right? Have kinesthetic learning, have different types of learning for different types of people who learn in different ways, different levels, different understandings, different abilities. That's all just the introduction. Like the actual story, the actual mitzvah, we said the point of Seder night is to tell us the story of going out of Egypt, of being miraculously taken out of Egypt by God. That actual story doesn't start till the point at which everyone's kind of mumbling and happy to go to bed or at least to have a meal, right? That is because they're waiting for the food. That's a temptation. Don't. The mitzvah is telling the story. Let's find a way together for you in your own circumstances, whatever they may be, to tell the story. Find a way to tell the story in the most engaging way possible for the people at your Seder. And for yourself, if you're at someone else's Seder. This is a Seder that's something we share together and experience together. And we're going to find a way to have this the best story night that we've ever had, because that's what Seder night is. So without further ado, let's get stuck into some of the ideas, hints, tips, tricks. And the first one I'd like to share is one I heard a couple of years ago, which is interesting to me. And it sounds bizarre, but prepare a schedule. Prepare a schedule for Seder night, like you would for any important event. It was actually a wedding planner who had originally suggested this to me. And he said, what do you do when? You have to know. You have a healthy sense of timing is very healthy. and it helps keep you focused, and it helps everyone, whether it's kids' expectations or adults falling asleep or people getting bored and wanting to have food, whoever's coordinating the food, having some kind of a schedule about what we're doing when, each point in the night, helps to frame the evening, make sure it doesn't schlep on, make sure it's enjoyable, and make sure that the key points of Seder are at a point in which people are engaged and enjoying and alive and in the meal. And gosh, it's an unfortunate word to use in these times, but it helps things move along. So the another few ideas are to help keep track of the Seder night. So we talked about schedule. Could also, depending on the ages of people there, if those are the kids can create cards or posters of 15 steps, Kadesh, Urchatz, Karpas, Yachatz. They can design their own. There's things online I'm happy to share with people if people are interested. Of things to color in, and they can hold up which step we're up to Kadesh now, yay, up to Magid now, to help kids, help people keep track of the Seder. You could have posters, or I've seen people do Pesach bingo, boards with different parts of the Seder, and then you have a board, and each part of the Seder has a different square, and as you hit each part, you put the board down. Again, this may be more appropriate for younger children. I've even seen a tweak on this game where people play family Pesach bingo, where same as above, where we had the 15 things on the Seder night, but you don't have to have all 15 of them. And you can add in family things like, mum's asked a question, son who's back from his gap year has answered something or gone off on one, or specific parts of Seder people are looking forward to. We're doing the Bivhilu Yatsanim Mitzvah thing. Shout out to all the Jibs watching. My family hit each other with spring onions. Shout out to all my Persian brethren. Chicken soup and Shulchan Aruch, Dvar Torah from your kids, whatever it is, different things for different people. And people can, again, get engaged by putting down on their bingo boards where we're up to in the Seder, and to try and, again, keep track of the Seder and keep things moving and keep people engaged and interested. A general theme of Seder night, I think this is true with any event you're ever running, and really any meal that we run, is to try and have everyone involved. Involvement is commitment. People being involved, people being committed and interested. So I've had a question here, explain the spring onions. Spring onions, during Song Dayenu, we hit each other with spring onions to remember the spring onions. No, not quite. To remember, I don't know, being hit by Egyptians. And I guess it was decided by the Sephardi brethren who have this minhag that the spring onions are best. I can send you a link, surely, about articles about that. But yes, we do that. It's a thing, I think. Google it. No, it is a thing. So getting everyone involved, to ask people before Pesach to prepare a question, to write it down, to ask it at the meal. It's fun for kids, even for adults. That's a format of telling over the story of Seder night. We know it's question answer format. So why not, in the time that we've got now, and a number of things we'll be sharing today are trying to also share things in the context of Corona and being quarantined. There are certainly a lot of people are homeschooling their kids at the moment, or home camping, whatever it is, how you manage to have your kids hanging around and getting through stuff. So there are things you can do, certainly for older people, even for adults, like I said. Have a question, think of something. It's worth going into Seder night with something which you haven't had before. And a question that can be shared at the Seder that no one's seen before might be quite a nice way for some people to be involved who previously were just going through the motions, to kind of have a bit fresher and a bit more engaged and a bit more involved this year. Another idea which I've seen is people have little cups. Are they plastic cups or metal, whatever it's, glass cups, or cups, plastic cups with people's names on it. And if you're watching this in like a few years' time and plastic cups have been banned and outlawed and illegal, do not use plastic cups. Plastic cups are very, very bad. But if you are this year using disposables and you're watching in a year before the Armageddon where disposables were allowed, whatever cups you're using, to have little either names of kids or people at the Seder, or pictures if you can bother organizing it, or maybe people have in the next couple of weeks if you're bored, made their own little pictures. And then you have these little cups in front of you. Whoever's, let's say, the Baal HaSeder, whoever's leading the Seder has it, or who someone else, another person of responsibility. They have in front of them these cups. And every time someone asks a question, they get a token. Every time someone gives a good answer, they get a token. You can make up your own rules, your own engagement. Someone reads, different people have different family customs. And you can have basically a little, like Harry Potter, Gryffindor kind of house points almost. where each person gets put in little things into their cup as the evening goes on. And a couple points in the Seder, you can get involved in this. You can have a prize at the end of the Seder, and whoever has most, we'll have ideas about people, washing maybe in order of how well they're doing in the league. But again, these are different ways of getting people involved. I've also seen people have little question mark cards and answer cards. You can make little squares where you hand out. If someone asks a great question, here you have a question mark card. If someone has a great answer, have an exclamation mark card, or you can make up your own different things. Again, the point is, great story involves people and engages people and has them telling the story and being part of the experience. We want really everyone at your Seder to be involved and engaged in the experience and in telling this story of Seder night. That's the key. That's the goal. The last idea I heard for getting everyone involved is have little job jars. Quite interesting for those who have maybe bigger families or more people at the Seder, and they want different kids involved in different things. It may even work for smaller Sedarim as well. But to have a little job jar in the middle, and you have a piece of paper. This someone's responsible for pouring the wine for everyone for the first cup of wine. Someone's responsible for the fourth cup of wine, not the fifth. Someone's fourth cup of wine. Someone's responsible for opening the door. Shvil chamascha. Someone's responsible for handing out first course, cleaning up, whatever it is. Different jobs, different roles, different things. Different parts of the Seder have different responsibilities. You can make up depending on your family customs and what you do. And that way, again, everyone at the table has a different responsibility, maybe more than one responsibility. And that's, again, a way of having everyone involved and everyone engaged and everyone contributing to it. So it's not my Seder I'm sharing with you. It's our Seder that we're enjoying and experiencing together, and together telling this national story of the Jewish people going out of Egypt, this incredible national, earth-shattering moment where the Jewish nation is formed as a people. It could be that for some people, not everyone's going to be at the Seder for the entire time, or maybe someone needs, depending on their circumstances, a time where take a 20-minute break. Younger ones or older ones, whatever it is, I'm going to now focus on a different group. Could be different people Sedarim. If that's the case for yours, why not have a Lego challenge? Duplo or Lego, everyone can build a scene from the story of Pesach. So a certain age group, send everyone out, and we're going to have a look at your competition, have a look at your what you've made, or maybe make it as a group, depending on how many people, and make different scenes of the Seder night. Or similar ideas, maybe for older kids, maybe that's like 3 to 6 years old, maybe for like 8 to 11s, have a play. So people go out, you're each instructed, you're each challenged with making a play, acting out a scene in the entire story of Pesach. And it can go way up to the story of Joseph and his brothers and sending out to Egypt, and how the Jewish people ended up in Egypt themselves in the first place, which the Haggadah also refers to. So telling that story of going out of Egypt can be done also in a way that children are literally acting out. That can be done as a challenge, as I said. They can perform it for the adults. Kids love performing for adults. And that can be quite a fun and engaging way of doing it. Hello to those saying hello. Hello, Clara. Adults. We talked about kids. Have water at the Seder. I don't know why some people don't. It's perfectly permissible to have water at the Seder. You're not eating till later. Certainly not anything substantial till Shulchan Aruch, but for sure, have water, have a glass of water, have lots of water at the table. Anyway, in this time, we need to make sure everyone's being properly hydrated and healthy. But again, it helps people get a bit less antsy, have some water at the table, pleasure. And on that note, the whole table generally, have a clear table. I'm really a big fan of less is more. The Seder should be whatever is needed. You have your Haggadah for each person, glass of water, and maybe a plate. Later on, during Shulchan Aruch, when there's more food going on, maybe you want to bring in more food to the table, but also more knives and forks and cutlery, whatever it is, extra plates, whatever people's customs are with how much food they're eating. And that's maybe for later. But for the beginning part of the Seder, however long it's going to last for, that kind of Seder time of focusing on our family, on whoever's around the Seder table, that should be clutter-free if possible. Try and have a shluf. Erev Pesach, I know this year it's going to be particularly maybe different. Maybe some people easier to have a shluf, some people less easy. But have a sleep, have some kind of rest before Seder. So we go in and enjoy it. We should enjoy the Seder night. If you're going to, West End or Broadway, you've paid a lot of money for your ticket. You're going to tell this story. You're going to experience it. You'd want to have it rested and be at a point where you can enjoy it. So yes, sleep. And I'm aware it's not easy for everyone, those commenting on the sides, but try and organize things. Maybe take in turns, maybe split up with people's, older children or spouses or whatever it is, who's in the house, if you can arrange time to sleep, please do. Anyway, moving on before we get into the sleep thing and how much everyone's going to do before Seder night. Based on that actually as well, have a conversation. Some people are going to, this year especially, but always this is true, going to have different people at the Seder who maybe aren't usually there, people who are usually in-law, whatever it is, people who aren't in the home, if people have different customs, or this year we never get to do it, but this year I was obviously expecting that we were going to be able to do A, B, and C like my family always used to do. Please have that conversation before Pesach. Just simple Seder hack. It's not rocket science, but a conversation had a week or two before Pesach might be an argument you can avoid on Seder night itself, where you've both built up these expectations, how this is going to be the Seder you've always wanted to have, but could never have because your in-laws, your father-in-law, whatever it is, it didn't work out. Like, have those conversations now. What's the Seder night that you want to have this year? That's true for every year, but certainly true this year as well. Okay, and last point of Haggadah we spoke about before this year and the whole quarantine corona thing. I think this year is an incredible opportunity. Often what happens on Seder night, this is certainly true in the ones that I've seen. I don't know if other people have experienced this, but having been a teacher and been involved with education for, however many 15 plus years, this is what my experience is talking to colleagues and friends, rabbis, teachers, etc. People tend to go into Seder night with their mitzvah of telling the story of Seder night to their children. Like, that is the command, that is the mitzvah. It's an incredible mitzvah. We enjoy it. It's fantastic. Let's tell our children the story of going out of Egypt. And then our kids come with their Haggadahs, which their teachers lovingly made all day, every day for like however many weeks. And it's Purim, basically. And then the children's like, Rachza, we go to wash our hands, which is really sweet and gorgeous and wonderful. That's nice. That's actually not the mitzvah of Seder night, which is to tell the story of going out of Egypt. Not, this is a show and tell we can't usually do because mum and dad are too busy to look at the homework during the year, but Seder night we get to go through the whole book with them. This year, incredible opportunity. Kids are much less likely to have made a Haggadah. If they have, you may even have made one with them. This is an opportunity where you can build that Haggadah with them. I know, not likely for many people, that's fine, but also an opportunity for revision. Often, it's a very big Jewish value, Chazara, going over what we've learned, revising, kind of consolidate that information and that study. But we don't do it for Seder because we're always busy making this year's Haggadah. Why don't we take some time, go through with our kids things they've made previously, and certainly for older kids, but even for adults, having time to go through, but certainly for kids, going through things they've made previously. And it's a skill to be able to select things they want to bring. They're not going to have 10 or 5 or 3 Haggadahs at the Seder. They're going to have one Haggadah at the Seder, but they can go through before Pesach, the Haggadahs they've previously made, and select their best 1 or 2, whatever as you decide, Divrei Torah or ideas or thoughts or stories that they want to share to do with the story of going out of Egypt that they want to share. It's a really lovely idea and a really nice skill, an important skill for children to have, is selecting the things that they want to share, that they think are important, differentiating, distinguishing their choices in terms of what they made previously and bringing them to Seder. So it's, again, them bringing something to the table, them committing something, rather than them reading out parrot fashion, something they've taken time to think about and look over. And a great time to keep your kids quiet for a couple of hours and look over all the stuff they've done, which is really nice. Name places, another idea I've seen before, people to know where they're sitting. Also, again, an opportunity to keep our kids busy. They can make name places for people who's sitting where. They can decorate pictures or write a message to each person. Also a cute idea. Maybe make their own Seder mats, especially for the younger children, to have some pictures of the Seder story, going out of Egypt, 10 plagues, etc. Loads of interesting ideas. You can print it out in black and white. Kids can color it in. And again, if you have a laminator at home or plastic or something, or cling film, not toilet paper, don't have that, then people can maybe do that. But anyway, just to have a mat, to have something, a sheet of paper, A4 sheet of paper, people can put their plates on. And again, the kids have contributed to the Seder table by literally laying the table with their own mats they've made, they've designed. And again, getting them ready, reminding themselves of the story of the Seder. Have a comment here from Marcus Mendelssohn of Essex. An interesting thing I've had before, that doesn't say that on here, I know that because I know him. An interesting thing I've had before at different people's homes is for everyone to have a different Haggadah to spark good conversation, discussion, debate at different commentaries, translations. 100%, beautiful idea, for sure. Let more people, Tov Mashnayim and Echad, 2 heads are better than 1, and 3 plied quarters and break. For sure, the more people that say that, the more, what that means is the more different voices and different ideas and different thoughts being brought to Seder, everyone comes with their own perspective, and we're all unique and we're all individual. I'm not. Means that we're all going to Life of Brian reference. Sorry to any Americans watching. I'm told there's some here. So that is for sure a lovely idea. Any other ideas and thoughts? Maybe we'll do some more at the end. But yes, please do. This is a collaborative effort. We're hopefully going to have an international collaboration here of different people, different ideas. One idea I have seen is before we go into the Seder itself, we're going to try and have one idea for each Seder night, or each part of the Seder. One idea is in the lead up to Seder, maybe to have something in the lead up. We know that the Jewish people had a sheep tied to their doorpost, sheep tied to the bed, so it's ready for Korban Pesach 3 days before. Some people, this will be more appropriate for, some others may not be appropriate for. If you don't have a sheep, some people don't have farms in their garden, I'm told. But if you don't have a sheep, paint a picture of a sheep, have a balloon, which you call sheep, name the sheep if you want. But again, another cute way, I've seen this a number of years ago from someone who had a balloon sheep tied to his kid's bed. It was very cute. And, an idea of reminding ourselves, really feeling the story, even before you go into Seder night, there are things we can do to remind us of the story of, almost living like in real time, the story of going out of Egypt. So 3 days before Pesach, great, let's get the sheep. Korban Pesach needs ready, the sacrificial lamb, and let's go for that. Some people may not be so appropriate for others maybe. For those who like arts and crafts and decoration, for those who aren't interested, let's just do 30 seconds of this. Some people love it, some people don't. But in reference and in with a salute to the picture that we used of different people doing crazy, amazing stuff with their Seder tables. I have seen some things online, some things in live, share a couple ideas and things that I've seen before. Again, this idea is to bring out the story of going out of Egypt. You'd go to a West End, you'd go to Broadway, whatever it is. You don't just watch the play, right? On up above, then they have the sides, they have the decorations, they have theming, they have things to get you involved, get you into the story of going out of Egypt. The environment is one of the whole story gets involved. Everything around from the scenery is not just in the actual theater, in the box there. The scenery is all over the place. Disney are amazing at this on like rides and stuff. The queue to the ride has all this theming, and it's part of telling the story, part of getting you in, part of drawing the audience in. And remember, the whole point of Seder night is to draw the audience, everyone, including ourselves, into the story of going out of Egypt. So if you can do something to make your table, shelves, things around part of the state, doors, part of the Seder table, part of the Seder story, that's also an unbelievable thing to do. I've seen people to replicate the blood on the doorpost, to have red cellophane or cloth around the doorposts of the house or of the door rather. People dressing up, people even dressing up before Seder and printing pictures, like almost like photo frames. So you have some kids, put tea towels on their head, whatever it is people decide to do, as if they are going out of Egypt, or as if they are slaves in Egypt, and having 2 or 3 like family photos you can print out at home or get from Snapfish or whatever, to have like as if you were leaving Egypt. You'd have little family photos of you guys in Egypt, or on the night itself, dressing up in kaftan, shlabas, whatever it is, and that people might have. Also an amazing idea. Walls like Kras Yamsuf, maybe they're separating the parting of the sea to have either on the floor. I've seen people using blue cellophane or blue tablecloths or whatever it is to have. So you have the table there, and on either side of the table you have the sea, and the middle, meaning cellophane or blue tablecloth or pictures people can draw. Kids can draw, especially a few A4 sheets of paper. Kids filling in blue and making sea and fish and whatever it is they want to make. Also keep them busy. Yay! Theme of the day: coronavirus. And having that at the Seder table, and even I've seen before people using Playmobil or Lego men to create the Jewish people going out of Egypt, have little horses, have little chariots, men, plasticine, whatever people want to use, and to have plastics of people going out of Egypt, Lego men, etc. Possibility. Okay, in the last 5 minutes, let's try and run through one idea for each of the parts of the Seder itself. Let's just try and have just different ideas people have had. There's some comments on the side. Happy to see you. Great, I'm happy to see everyone as well. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go. So the first part of the Seder is Kadesh. So this is all really valuable and really important. And I think even if one idea from any of those things really can transform your Seder. As an addition, let's try and run through a couple of things for the Seder itself. So the first thing is Kadesh, the first glass of wine. And maybe for some people, this isn't a new idea. For me, when I heard it a few years ago, it was unbelievable. The ideal is to have red wine. And red wine, depending on people's palates and their taste and enjoyment, is not the thing for everyone. And it can make some people a little bit tipsy, especially after 4 cups. I personally enjoy rosé wine. And that is also red, so it's the best way of performing the mitzvah in terms of being a red type of wine. And for those who can't have red wine or prefer rosé is a really enjoyable sweet wine. I much prefer sweet than like the proper wine. My father-in-law, if he was watching this, would be very upset with me. I don't like the proper wine, but rosé wine is great. It's a fantastic way to have the red without being completely inebriated by the second or third cup. Urchatz, try not to make a coronavirus joke. That's my one tip. Karpa, which is washing hands, by the way. Karpas, which is a vegetable. You can have celery. Some people like celery. The goal here is it doesn't have to be something horrible. It's not moro. Moro is the bitter herbs, the bad tasting things we have later. That's designed to remind us of the bad times. Karpas is not that. It's just an appetizer. It's supposed to whet our appetite, get the digestive juices flowing, almost like the slavery itself was. It seemed like it was all going to work and Moses was going to take us out of Egypt and he was here, suddenly appeared, Savior's here, fantastic. We're going to be out. And then as soon as he left Pharaoh's house, things got much worse to the Jewish people. So there was like a full start. And we know that the ultimate redemption, also there'll be kind of full starts, things where we think this is the end, we think this is going to be it. And then there's not that. So Karpas is that also that kind of reminder, many explanations. One is like a false reminder that you think the meal's starting now, they think this is the redemption, they think this is it. No, actually, you've got like hours to go. So that's also one idea you can share. But also in terms of hints and tips to not make it so horrible tasting, people have used potatoes. It's really nice. I should got a message. But another more controversial idea maybe, haven't been said before, but I have checked this out. You can use an oven fried chip for karpas. How's that for getting your kids excited about karpas? Moving on, yachatz, where we break the matzah, and this is a time to remember as well. The Jewish people had, enslaved, didn't have food. If you really feel like you have to make a comment about supermarket shelves, please do. But this is the time to remember. This is not always the case that we have loads of food on our table. It's not always the case. Both for us as human beings, we're living through this, and certainly for many people around the world who don't have food, and for the Jews in this times of slavery in Egypt, they didn't have food. That's why they had matzah, because it keeps you full for longer. So that's an idea you can share at yachatz, and play a little game. What do you have for breakfast? Play a game or whatever it is, trying to remind people that we don't have enough food. What's not been available on supermarket shelves or whatever it is. To remind us that the Jewish people, again, the story of going out of Egypt, the story of the Jewish people who were slaves and got all the Israelites. More accurately, at Sinai we became the Jewish nation as a religion, as a another whole discussion maybe for another time. Moving on to Maggid. So we're not going to talk about the first part of Maggid. I think there's loads going on there anyway. And people do stuff. But remember, like I said before, the main point of Maggid is to get to the story. Maggid means to tell over, right? To Sipri Sasmusayim, the story of Lesaper, Sipura, the story, going over the story of reminding ourselves, getting engaged, involved in the story. So the story of going out of Egypt, you can play, I've seen people play like what's the scariest makkah, a game of justifying what do you think, give everyone 30 seconds to think about it, have a competition, a debate, whatever it is, what would be the scariest makkah to have lived through, the scariest plague to have lived through as an Egyptian or as a Jewish person. What would be the most amazing one to witness as a Jewish person, to justify that? I've seen a game played during the meal, either at this point in the Seder or later on, where unexpectedly, at some point in the Seder, people just start doing plagues. So you have to act out the plague of blood, drinking blood, whatever it is, and frogs, to have frogs jumping all over the place, act out, the plague, and not tell anyone what it is, but people have to guess which plague you're doing. Obviously, you have to tell people who are playing this game first, otherwise that's really weird. But to act out the plagues of going out of Egypt, and I'm not going to use the word plague too much because of everything going on, but that's another possibility. And another game, again, getting people involved and reminding us this is actually something that that people lived through and went through and experienced, and try and get us involved in the story. As a last idea on Magid, on the telling over the story of the Siyas Mitzrayim, there's a song in there, part of Dayenu, which has an amazing song, Dayenu, it's fantastic, everyone loves it. But it also is really saying, basically, it would be amazing to thank God if it was just this little bit he did. It would be amazing to thank him, but he did so much more. And I think in terms of gratitude, that's something that's really, really powerful to remind ourselves that, Dayenu really teaches us that the ultimate gratitude is itemizing it. Rather than saying thanks for lunch or thanks for supper or whatever it is to someone, we itemize it and say, thanks for lunch. I really specifically enjoyed a specific thing. I really enjoyed the, roast potatoes were done amazingly. They were crispy, but they were whatever it is. And itemizing that gratitude is something really powerful. And you can use that point in the Seder as well, to itemize things you're grateful for, people around the table, people are thankful for God. Counting our blessings, especially in this time, is something really powerful and emotional that can be, can raise our spirits, it can help us in a difficult time, but any time really, but especially in a difficult time, to remind us how much we have to be grateful for, and itemizing it, and the more specific, the better. Another possibility, particularly for those who are going to be maybe on their own for Pesach, is maybe make a Dayenu list, like a gratitude list. It will be enough for me to thank you, Mum. It would be enough for me to thank you, Grandpa, if it was just this, but you do this and you do this. It would be enough for me to thank you if you did A. It would be enough for me to thank you if you did A, and you also do B. It would be enough for me to thank you if you did A, B, and C, etc. And that's something that I think can be quite powerful and quite real for people to share what would normally maybe be a much more family-based live experience, to moving parts of that experience before Pesach, where people can read out at the Seder table things that they've shared either in the home or beyond, if you can post it or get it to people's letterbox without endangering yourself or others, to share something we're really grateful for in an itemized list, to really show people how grateful we are to them, and ultimately working on our own hakarat hatov, our own appreciation of the good, and working on our appreciation of the ultimate good and the person, the one who does good, of God. All lots of possibilities. In the remaining couple of minutes, we're going to run through things of each of the Seder, Rachza, washing hands again. Try not to make a Korean joke about washing your hands, but just a different idea you could also do is, the leagues we talked about, the cups, whatever, with how well people are doing, the house points, you could have people washing in order of how well they're doing. Motzi matzah, people, when we start eating the matzah itself, that's a time to maybe have boards in terms of how much of a kazai is, how much one needs to have. I've also seen this is true for motzi matzah and mora and korech. So the matzah and the mora, the bitter herbs, and the korech, where we make a sandwich and put them together. People thinking about portions and splitting them up. So rather than you get to Seder and everyone's working out how much I need to have and what I need to do and splitting up, etc. I've seen people making portions and putting them in a bag or laying out the table, whatever it is. Again, someone's job could be before Seder night or even at Seder night. Different points fits appropriate to have. Shulchan Aruch, during the meal itself, this can be a time where things kind of lose their flow and the meal kind of disappears from telling the story of the Seder night. I'm just going to share one game because of time, but you could have a bag of random things you find from around the house, make sure they're not chametz, but random things, a Playmobil piece, a Lego brick, whatever it is, watch, whatever it is, a tissue, if you can find one somewhere in your house, and each person picks out from the bag a random article and has to justify what it has to do with the story of going out of Egypt. And people's creative juices flowing. Marcus, you'd like this idea, people's creative juices, you'd be surprised at what people come up with. I've played this game before, it's really enjoyable. And people come, Lego brick, this is to remind us of the Jews who built, whatever it is, storehouses in Egypt, or, slaves, whatever it is. Tissue, this is to, for all the bitter tears and crying or whatever it is. Of the tissues that presumably weren't on the shelves when the plague started and people were panic buying, whatever it is, different things people can do, but have a bag of, have many people at your Seder or plus the number, and lucky that people pick things out. That's quite an enjoyable thing. Safan, where we do the afikoman, remember the schedule we made, helpful to know when things are so that we keep things running to course. We don't hit over chatzot, the midnight point, and things don't schlep on as well, we talked about. Baruch, where we do benching, sing the benching song. Hallel, I've seen people do really cool things with songs, different tunes for different parts of Hallel. Maybe write down before if you have a chance, or even, again, another job, another responsibility for the children, if they're particularly musical people in the family or adults. This is the tune we're going to use for this part of Hallel. That's also a really nice idea. And Nirtzah, and we'll finish with this. Nirtzah is the final really song-based part of the Seder where it's really taking out Seder on a high. So try and take out Seder on a high. Try and have something that people know, people enjoy. If you've got kids around and you want to sing certain songs, sing it with them now, or whatever. Stick them in front of a computer to teach it to them. Songs now, if people don't have time, whatever it is. But really, any song you sing, people should know before, so that it's enjoyable, it's familiar, people enjoying, people involved. People doing actions for who knows one and one is Hashem. I could do all the actions now, whatever. Five are the books of the Torah, 4 are the mothers and 3 are the fathers. 2 are the luchos that Moshe brought, 1 is Hashem, whatever. Different actions people can do. Please, YouTube for the rest, not doing them all. And Haggadah, different noises. My family do this. This is great fun. And people basically shout as you get to each point. So the cats, ate the goat. No, cats don't do that. Meow. Meow. And Haggadah, and you get the goat, and Zavan B'Tchei Zuzin. My father bought for 2 zuz, jingle jingle or money noise or whatever it is that people want to do. That as well keeps engaged, keeps involved. And I would say as a final thing, not to let your Seder fizzle out, that this should be something enjoyable and fun. Certainly the last song should be something that everyone's really looking forward to, should be an enjoyable song. And the whole Seder night really should be one that's enjoyable, that's fun, that's engaging, that's a story. We want to have stories, we want to tell stories, we always tell stories. That's how humanity exists. That's the narrative of humanity is one of storytelling. That's narrative by definition, but that's really something that should be something we all look forward to, not only for the ritual and the cultural beauty of it, which is amazing and wonderful and rich, but also the story itself should be really enjoyable. We should all be engaged and involved in the story. And I welcome people to share comments, ideas, questions if people have. But there's so many ideas out there. And the more we can do to share the story with the people around us at the table, to have people involved, more details, more songs, more, to move the plot along or to have an emotion like you would in any play or musical, more engagement, more involvement, that should, please God, make it a really beautiful, beautiful Seder. And please, I'm wishing everyone, please God, it should be the last time we have Seder in Galut, in the exile, wherever it is, and the Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim, please God, next year in Israel. Wishing everyone a beautiful and enjoyable and meaningful and fun Seder night and Pesach.